Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jerry Cooley.
And I'm Deborah Nelson. Thanks for tuning in.
Have you ever noticed that when I talk softer, she talks softer too?
Do I? I didn't know you were capable of talking softer.
Well, I am accused of not having a volume knob.
Yeah, among other things.
Folks, we want to take a moment. Actually forgot about it in the last show, but this is Military Appreciation Month, and to all the men and women who serve in our military in all the ranks, and all the civilians who work for the military, all of those in harm's way, we want to give you all a big salute and appreciate, let you know that we do appreciate what you do for this country, because if it wasn't for you, Jerry and Deborah couldn't sit here and expound upon the events of the day.
We would have been beheaded in the town square probably 5 years ago.
Exactly. And our military is vitally important to this country, and we want you to know that Santa Rosa Week supports the military proudly, and we appreciate all that you do for us.
Yes, we do.
Deborah, you wanted, and we've been trying to get this in, so let's do the redistricting comments that we wanted to get in.
Well, as you know, there are two amendments on this fall's ballot that have to do with redistricting. Redistricting, of course, is when you divvy up voters in a specific area.
Right.
Every 10 years it happens.
There's a redistricting.
Right, exactly. And of course, you know what gerrymandering is. That's when the voters are divvied up in order to sort of benefit a certain party
over another. And let's go a little bit more into that, because, folks, if you'll take the time to look in almost any state in the United States of America, any place where districting goes on, you never see a straight line.
Right.
It is always crooked and they've got it figured out. And whichever party is in power, well, they know that most of the people in this subdivision are of that party, so they redraw it, and it's really not fair. Elections should be held. We should get out there, and I think it's ridiculous, and we shouldn't be doing it.
Well, there are two amendments on the ballot this fall that would require just that. They would require that districts be drawn is based as much as possible on population and geographical features and boundaries.
Right. And
they wouldn't be allowed to benefit any particular political party. And this has so gotten our Florida legislature, in a tizzy that they've actually now written their own redistricting amendment, and they've passed it. Of course, they don't have to do any of the stuff that like a private citizen or a private group like Fair Districts Florida, who floated these amendments, would have to do. They don't have to go out and get hundreds of thousands of signatures on a petition, et cetera, et cetera. They just have to pass it in the legislature, and they stick it on the ballot, and that's what they've done. And so we've got.
There's going to be two on the ballot then.
Well, there's two Fair Districts Florida amendments, and those are going to be 5 and 6. And now the legislature has passed one, and this is going to be we think it's going to be number 7.
Right.
As of this taping, we don't know that for sure. But it would negate, if 5 and 6 pass, it would negate them, and it would substitute its own language, which basically says we can do it however we want.
Yeah, I mean the fair thing. Look, we understand populations. All right, folks. I mean you look at our county, where the north end specifically has a low population. And then you look in Navarre, a small little circle there has a huge population. We always want things to be evenly, so that each elected official is representing about the same amount of people.
Right.
That's important to me.
From about the same area.
Right.
As closely as possible to the same area.
That's the important thing, is that it's not fair for one representative to have, say, 20,000 folks, and another representative to have 100,000 folks. It's just not fair.
Well, they'll generally they'll have about the same amount, but they'll reach over here to grab some from here and reach
Right.
over here to grab a few, you know, just
They need to
the
draw
numbers right.
straighter lines.
Yeah.
It needs to be a whole lot less
It
of
needs to be compact.
twisting and curving
Yes.
lines in that. And
Well, and it needs to not be drawn specifically to benefit incumbents or incumbent political parties,
Right.
which is what happens.
Right,
Which
exactly.
is gerrymandering.
right.
And so they're sticking their own amendment on the ballot this fall. It may not make it. There's a court case. It looks like there's going to be a court case against it,
Right.
and they may get kicked. The Supreme Court may kick it off. We'll see what happens. But as of now, that's the situation.
Right. Yeah, and you know, and I'm going to say this no matter what party. It happens to be the Republican Party right now. And our quote unquote leadership of the Republican Party, they're just acting kind of childish on a lot of issues. And I just really don't appreciate it. We've just seen a lot of this, ugly comments and all that kind of stuff, and honestly, all politics are local, and it's an embarrassment to me when I look at the St. Petersburg Time and all this, and I see all these little machinations that are going on.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it makes it very clear who they represent and what they think of their constituents.
Right.
I mean, that's very obvious.
Well, I mean, anybody, just folks, just like we've talked about with this prison deal. Nobody in their right mind thinks it's a good idea to hand $135 million to a private for-profit corporation.
Right.
But the mentality of the people that we have in Tallahassee is that behavior's okay.
Right.
So when you have a group of people with that kind of mentality, there's really only one thing to do. As long as they can get away with it, they're going to get away with it. The way to stop that is to replace a few of them, or potentially statewide grand jury
That would be
to
helpful
tag a
too.
few of them.
Yeah.
Which should be interesting. Go jump over to Escambia County for a minute. Pensacola News Journal, Mark O'Brien. I did get a real kick out of. He was recalling a story when he was a young man at school dances, and he noted that if a boy and a girl danced too closely, Father McCarthy would quickly intervene, and what he would tell them was, you have to make room for the Holy Spirit, which I thought that was kind of humorous. But the big portion of Mr. O'Brien's column here is recently David Morgan, and the reason we're going to talk about this a little bit, folks, is because we have a lot of people from Santa Rosa County that go to the
Right.
beaches, go to Pensacola Beach. He put his foot down earlier this year about open containers in the parking areas. And we all know, if anybody that pays a little bit of attention to the news, that it seems like there is a lot of problems generated where there's a lot of open containers and a group of people in a circle. I will have to say it may prove to be real interesting, because what he is proposing now is that there be no alcohol on the beach at all. And,
Yeah.
It's from a family person's perspective, I absolutely do I think that there should be a place on the beach that is non-alcoholic? Absolutely, because we have locals and we have tourists that come down here that don't care to participate in when it gets out of hand, and it's going to be very interesting.
I mean, are you talking about restaurants too? I mean,
Well, no, I mean just
it's a kiss of death.
well,
for a
yeah,
restaurant.